What's up guys, welcome to Wasted Space, and we're back in Space Engineers, and right off the bat I'm going to admit I built something pretty silly today. It started off with the best intentions, again thinking about planets, but wanting to build something a bit more esoteric, and kind of I wanted to build something that I could have a bit more design influence with, you know, actually build something that looks cool. So what I've ended up with, I think, is probably the first fully functional base in Space Engineers that's capable of drifting. So let me dive straight in and show you what it's all about. Here's it from the driver's seat, or one of the driver's seats, and as you can see, if I press forwards, the wheels are going to turn, and we're going to start moving, and you'll hopefully start to get an appreciation as well for the scale of this thing. Now, the game doesn't much like this massive flat asteroid I'm using to sort of test this thing on, so it does perform a bit sluggishly to begin with. However, and this is a pretty decent however, that doesn't remain. So you can actually just drive this entire base around, and the idea would be, and there are a few little innovations on it that I'm reasonably pleased with that aren't just, hey look, it's a base that drives. But there's also plenty on it that I do think is kind of cool, just because it's a base that drives, that you can literally drift. So we're going to start turning this corner here, get up a bit of speed, and then as we get to a position where I want to straighten up, I'm going to keep the throttle on, keep the wheels spinning forward, and that is a base drifting. There is no other way of describing that. Perhaps not the most elegant of drifts, but yeah. I'll keep driving this around a little bit and give you a little bit of a look around the base as a whole. I've tried to really equip this out as good as I can. In fact, let me stop and give you the tour. I quite like how the wheels and the suspension and so on all behave on something this large. You get all of the diving and so on you would expect to see from a vehicle, when on smaller scale, weirdly, it doesn't seem to behave like that. But anyway, let me jump out and show you. This is the bottom floor, so this would be the main vehicle deck, and I didn't in the end get around to building any vehicles, partly because I never bothered getting around to building a flat asteroid with gravity on it. This is actually cheating and has the gravity aboard itself in order to make it drive around, but this would be where the vehicles would be loaded, a couple of connectors in order to hold them in place during transport, and also obviously transfer materials. And then we have this rear door, and I quite like this one because if I just hit T on the button here, it'll obviously open itself, but the sort of special trick with this door is, someone in the comments suggested this to me, I can't remember who now, it was a little while ago, it just has a sensor on the end of it, and the sensor on the end detects when it's near the ground. And then vice versa, if I hit that button again, and there are duplicates of the button on the bottom of the craft so that you can access it from outside as well, what it will do is turn off the sensor, turn back on the rotor, and reverse it all at once. So it comes back up, and at that point it'll use a lock position up here, so maximum rotation distance. But down the bottom, all it does is the sensor turns off the rotor as soon as it sees the floor. And it's set to 1 meter, and as soon as it sees the floor, it turns off. Really simple but clever little solution. You can see, I'll just show you it again. Hit that, and this is going to come down, and from out here, you can see actually what's stopping it is going to be that sensor lighting up. That's the point at which it stops, because the rotors have been turned off and the braking force applies. So, while we're out here, quick tour of the outside. 4 wheels aside, middle 2 don't turn, end 2 do. I found that gave the best sort of turning response. We have a few landing pads here for any sort of actual piloted craft the thing might be dealing with. And another thing I've tried to do with this ship, for some reason, I don't know why, I was in a really weird mood today. So I wanted it to be air sealed. And now I admit the door at the back isn't air sealed. That was my flaw. I couldn't find a way of really making that look convincing. But basically I've tried to use pipes and so on, as you should. But anywhere where there might be an inside to outside connection, you can see I've run the pipes on the outside here, because otherwise there would be a gap and air would come in. I was in a very strange mood today. Up the top here, next to the landing pads, if we go back inside now, medical bay room, some cargo containers that are not hooked up to the cargo system. That's just sort of dry storage for anything you might be doing while you're out. From the windows out here, we can see the solar array on the other side, held in place by a landing gear for when you're moving. And we can travel downstairs into the sort of main hall. So 2 big reactors to go alongside the solar power and the big bunch of batteries which are down there downstairs. We also have plenty of cargo, so there's 2 outside and 2 inside there. Refineries tucked into the rear of the craft, I'm sure you've noticed from outside already. And then on the opposite side to here we have a big network of assemblers. So we've got four refineries and 8 assemblers in this, which seems reasonably balanced. And then, I don't know, but I needed a few timer blocks, so I just wanted to make them look cool. So, I don't know, they're supposed to be computers or something. And then again, cry from the comments, I built actual crew quarters onto this one. So down the side we have a whole bunch of matching, yes, I have no mods, so I've got nothing to put in them that would look like a bed, but we have a whole bunch of matching sort of crew quarters down the side. So we've got these sort of 3 there, and then one up above where the roof starts to get a bit taller. And again, I thought that little staircase just adds a certain something to it. And then that is pretty much the tour of the internals, but you get the idea. Full functional base, loads of room, plenty of room down here as well for both unloading those craft, but also building something new if you wanted to back here. And these are obviously here for drone control, so if you were needing to do any, I think the idea with this craft would be it would have wheeled drones, and that would be what you try and control from it. And you can, if you so wish, drive this thing around from the commander's chair looking out the front, and it's kind of cool in a weird sort of way. Let's have a look. Oh yes, this chair has not been set up. Let me just go in here quickly and tell it to control the wheels instead. There are no thrusters and no gyros on this whatsoever. It is not capable of any form of flight, and I don't use thrusters or gyros in any way to try and sort of compensate the movement either. As you can see, it actually looks kind of cool just driving around from in here. I'll do a turn, and that's about the extent of things. The only other thing I did with this, we're actually driving along with the back open. Let me think. No, I was downstairs. I did have shortcuts set up on the cockpit downstairs if I was going to use that, and then I ended up using a different cockpit, of course. But it does have one other thing that was kind of an interesting thing with this, or an interesting technique. See what you guys think. But through this video, I've been using little sort of time-lapse clips of me building. And I had my second computer recording while I was building this whole thing, just to see what sort of perspective it came up with and how it looked. So what do you guys think? Is this something I should do for my build? Just have a recording and sort of give a bit more of that footage out? Would you like to see that as footage on its own? I mean, stick some music to it, who knows? Just a thought. What do you guys reckon of that technique? Otherwise, here is a very, very, very silly creation that I guess kind of works, but at the same time, I'll probably leave you with a clip of what happened when I tried to jump it, and that will be where we'll call it. So cheers guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you did like the video, did like the idea, even if it is quite silly, I do quite like how it looks, a bit brutish, then please hit like, please hit subscribe, really helps me and the channel out. And otherwise, thanks a lot for watching, I'll catch you next time.